Hello, my name is Herb Clay, and I'm the Publishing and Veterinary Product Manager for ImageWorks. And right now I'm going to go over some of the features of ViewAll software, and in particular the choice and use of the acquisition template or ToothChart into which we're going to bring radiographs. Now, of the different ones that are available, far and away my favorite, whether we're in ViewAll Vet or in Pro Image, is what is called the full mouth template or full mouth ToothChart that provides as many as 9 positions for the entire upper arcade or maxillary teeth and 9 positions for the lower arcade or mandibular teeth. So here we can see we have 9 upper selections available and 9 lower, and there are some basic rules that we need to follow in order to make sure that we get all the teeth captured into the correct positions on the correct sides of the mouth with the roots going in the right direction and all of that. So first off, I'm going to bring up a picture of the sensor here. So here's the sensor. This is not actually seen in the software itself, but this is just for illustrative purposes. Notice that the sensor itself is not square, it's rectangular. It has a long dimension, which in this case is vertical as we're viewing it, and a short dimension, which is left to right. In this case, with the long dimension going top to bottom, I think of this essentially as portrait mode. And portrait mode, with the wire going always out the front of the mouth, is what we use for getting the front teeth. We have 4 basic tooth types in dogs and cats. We have incisors and canines associated with the front teeth, and in this case the portrait orientation of the sensor following the long dimension of those teeth, the incisors and the canines. And then we have the premolars and molars, which I otherwise sometimes refer to as the cheek teeth. And for those particular ones, we want to place the sensor in what is called a landscape orientation. Landscape is where the long dimension of the sensor is going left to right, and again the wire is always going out the front of the mouth. So we would use a landscape orientation for these positions, which represent the cheek teeth or the premolars here and the molars more caudally or towards the back of the mouth. And if we're on the other side, we would then, if we're over on the left side of the animal, which is to our right, we would be using this landscape orientation for the mandibular and maxillary premolars and molars, with the wire again going out the front. That brings us to another topic, which is the right and left side. You notice that I just said we were on the left side of the animal when I had the sensor over here, which is actually to our right. And that's because in order for the orientations to remain correct, you have to think of these templates as being a mirror image, or in other words, we're facing the animal face to face, which means that everything on the left side of the chart or the template represents the right side of the dog or the cat, and everything on our right represents the left side. Now this is really pretty much exactly the same as with the modified triadan system, where we have 4 quadrants. We have quadrant 1, which is to our upper left on the chart, and that representing the upper right teeth of the dog or the cat. Quadrant 2, which is our upper right, which is the upper left side of the dog or cat. The lower left side down here being quadrant 3, and finally the lower right side being down to our lower left, representing the lower right mandible or quadrant 4. So to take this to another way of looking at it, we're going to go to this skull illustration, which shows a dog laying on its left side, and if we wanted to radiograph the upper incisors, we would have the sensor with the wire going out the front, and we would be choosing the upper incisors here If we went for the upper right canine, we might be putting the sensor under the canine like so. And again, that would be the same as putting it under this position. If I chose the 104 canine, I would then choose this position. I'm moving a little brown dot around to show the positions on the template that I would be choosing. So in other words, I would bring the sensor in under here for the 104 canine. For the 104 canine, or the upper right, this would be the position on the chart that I would choose. If I wanted to go to the premolars on the upper right side, I would choose this position, and the sensor, I would then change the orientation to landscape, going for the cheek teeth, and I would then be putting a sensor like this for these cheek teeth, or premolars here and molars here. And to take a look at our illustration here, that would be going to an orientation that's landscape now on the sensor. And let's take a look here at how we would place the sensor, which would be for the 105, 6, and 7, and the 108 upper fourth carnasial. That would be in this landscape orientation, and the sensor would be in this position for the molar 1 and molar 2. Then I would choose either this position or this position on the chart. One of the big advantages to having the full mouth template with the 9 upper positions and the 9 lower is that it will accommodate up to your larger breeds. You can put German Shepherds on the table, Labradors, so forth, big breeds, and you'll have enough positions to cover all the various tooth selections that you might choose. If you're radiographing a medium-sized dog or a small dog, such as a toy poodle or a chihuahua or a cat, you may not need all these positions, and that's fine. You may simply, for instance, use this position or perhaps this one or this one for taking all the cheek teeth in one shot, as an example. You may be able to get both the 104 canine and the 204 canine and the incisors by simply choosing any one of these 3. For that case, I'd probably find that the upper incisor would make the most sense, because the radiograph that I would get as a result of that would show the 204 canine and the 104. And again, if I'm on the left side of the dog or cat, and I find that the breed is small enough where I only need this position perhaps, or maybe this one or this one, then that would be fine. I could leave the other positions blank. Wouldn't necessarily have to take shots on them. So again, if I want to illustrate taking shots on the left side, for instance, if I'm going for the quadrant 2 and 3, say molars or premolars, my sensor would be in this position. It would be in the landscape position, and we would place it for the upper teeth either here or here, and for these lower teeth we may place it here or here. And then again, going for the maxillary, we would face it in portrait with the image side up if we were going through the upper teeth, or the image side facing down, as you see here, for going for the lower incisors, which would be here, or for the lower canine.